The final chapter of Attack on Titan broke me. After so many years of thinking about this story, it is almost hard to believe that it's actually over. Reading chapter 139 was one of the most surreal moments I have ever had with any piece of art. There aren't many series that I spent years interacting with where I felt the quality never significantly dipped towards the end of the story. But now with Attack on Titan, I got a satisfying and smart ending to this complex tale. In this video, I'm going to break down the finale of Attack on Titan, and of course, full spoilers ahead. Going into the final two chapters, the only thing I really hoped would happen was a conversation between Eren and Armin, and boy did Isayama deliver. Their conversation went in a direction that I wasn't initially expecting, but I thought perfectly captured their relationship throughout the series. Armin has always looked up to Eren, and Eren has always relied on Armin. We see those perspectives play out over the course of this rumbling arc. Eren puts Armin in this insane situation where he hopes Armin is able to kill him, showing how much he's relied on him throughout the series. Armin, on the other hand, has to cope with what Eren has done. I loved where this scene took place as well, with both of them looking to the scenery that they longed for when they were kids. And now we see Eren's skewed ideology driving this entire scene to start the chapter. At this point in Eren's life, his mind has been mixed up with so many different perspectives and point of views that I think you could argue that he is actually bipolar, just like Reiner. There have become two sides to Eren, the person before he kissed Historia's hand, and the person afterwards. And because this conversation takes place in the paths, Eren is representative of the former. From the beginning, Eren's one goal was to kill all of the Titans, and at the end of the story, he has accomplished that. Inherently in this ending, there is a tragedy. Eren killing all of the Titans will not give his friends freedom. It only evens the playing field. At the start of the series, the Eldians are oppressed because they have the ability to turn into Titans, which makes the rest of the world view them as monsters. The series goes to great lengths to argue that even though they have this ability, they are in fact the same as everyone else because it is an ability that they have no control over. Eren at the end getting rid of the Titan power to really hit home the false base of oppression. Even after 3 years, the world still wants to fight against the Eldians. Titans or no Titans, the wrongness of oppression still exists, and the result of Eren's plan highlights that. This last chapter has made it incredibly apparent that above all else, Eren's view on freedom was connected to the idea of no Titans. Critiques of the series have pointed out that if Eren was so focused on freedom, that he would have wanted the governing system within the walls to evolve into something that represents a democracy. Of course, that never happens because Eren's idea of freedom is the absence of Titans. Titans are what keep him within the walls. Titans are what ate his mother, and Titans are the source of all the destruction in the world. In this conversation with Armin in the last chapter, we see how this base ideology is the only constant with Eren, even after he makes it to the other side of the sea. Eren understands that he and Reiner are the same. He feels an immense amount of guilt for the inevitable massacre of the people he is living with. But in his perspective, he has no other choice but to kill them. Eren understands that he and Reiner are the same, and then he also feels an immense amount of guilt for the inevitable massacre of the people he is living with. Eren's view on what it means to be free has always been living in a world where he would be unbothered by the people that he didn't know. That view of freedom beautifully shown in this panel of him flying above the sky. Eren doesn't want to interact with humanity, he wants to be alone with his friends that he cares about. And of course, this ideology leading him to selfishly massacre 80% of the population so he can kill the Titans and give his friends a chance to create their own path. Isayama did not give us a happy ending to this story. Our characters have not truly achieved freedom, nor have they broken the cycle of violence that runs its course throughout the entire series. Instead, characters are given a chance to live in a world that is more or less representative of our own. The rest of the living characters having an opportunity to create a better world because the Titans are finally gone. This chapter makes me think back to the point raised by Kenny in the 3rd season. Everyone is drunk on something. This concept is a basic one, but something that we see touching our characters at the end. Eren is obsessed with killing the Titans, and reaching that goal meant that he would be blind to the many faults of his own plan. Mikasa throughout the entire series blindly following Eren no matter the situation, resulting in her own loss of freedom. Then we have Armin, who views freedom differently than Eren. Armin looks at each moment as a precious one. This understanding even changed Zeke's outlook on his own plan and philosophy. Zeke wishing he could just play catch one more time. In their conversation, Armin provides the counterpoint to Eren's perspective on the entire situation. Armin clearly does not agree with the things that Eren has done. You can see that with the horror on his face throughout much of their conversation. However, Armin has always cherished his relationship with Eren, and has always cherished the moments he has with him. Armin thanked Eren for killing all of these people not as a way of condoning the actions of Eren, but by letting Eren die thinking that he was doing a good thing for humanity. Their hug at the end of this conversation was a tragic reminder to the reader that through compassion and communication we can potentially meld our different viewpoints on life. Here, Eren and Armin's understanding of freedom melts together. Then we cut to the battlefield where Mikasa had just cut off Eren's head. This image wrecked me. I mean, we have this trio of characters who we've been with since the beginning, and now we see Mikasa holding the head of the person she loves the most. And Isayama leaves us in a really difficult place here. On one hand, Eren has killed millions of people, and Mikasa and Armin cannot condone that. And yet on the other, this is their childhood friend who they love. Eren did all of this in hopes to give his friends a chance to live a life in a freer world than he was ever able to. And in a moment that I never thought we would get, we see a callback with Armin standing up to the soldiers saying that he is in fact human. This may be my favorite moment of the chapter because of my love of Armin, and probably one of my favorite moments in the entire series. Here Armin uses the situation created by Eren to help the Eldians. Quickly, I want to mention Mikasa's role in the end. Mikasa may have gone from a borderline top 10 character in the series to one of my favorites in these last couple of chapters. Even though their relationship isn't that bad, Mikasa's obsession with Eren has always been a little bit toxic. She is always willing to do anything for him, but his goal of killing the Titans never allowed a relationship to fully form, even though a side of Eren wanted it to, which we see in this chapter. Mikasa being able to break away from the loyalty of Eren in the end is heartbreaking but necessary for what Isayama is trying to tell. Being able to break away from one narrow line of thought or perspective is a must if the cycle of violence is ever going to be broken. But even though Mikasa still loves Eren, she is able to break away and hint at what a potential future could be, even though that future is without Eren. Now that I have talked about our main trio for the vast majority of this video, it is pretty safe to say that I really enjoyed how all of their arcs ended. Eren achieved his goal of killing all the Titans, even if he was never fully able to understand the ramifications of what he has done. Then we have Mikasa, who was really the key to it all, finally escaping the burden and restraint of worshipping Eren. And best boy Armin, who has the most clear version of what it means to be free, is able to become a more confident person. But we did get some incredible endings for our side characters, specifically with the ending for Levi. I even feel like there isn't a whole lot I have to say here. Everything about these panels gives us a satisfying and beautiful conclusion to not only Levi's own individual arc for everything that he has given up, but beautifully tying in many of the soldiers that we've seen perish over the years. Isayama doing a brilliant job of visually conveying the end of Levi's arc. And then we have Connie and Jean, who perfectly capture the everyman role and see Sasha one last time. I also love Connie's motivation of getting his mother back to life ever since season 2, and it's incredibly satisfying to see his happiness after learning that she will come back at the end of the story. We also get Annie finally reuniting with her father, which was also a fantastic moment for her character. Now, I want to briefly discuss a few things that I wish got a little more fleshed out here in the end. The one that is a real bummer to me is the treatment of Historia at the end of the story. In the Uprising arc, Historia becomes one of the most badass characters in the entire series. Then she is basically absent for Return to Shiganshina and Marley, only to have her notably left out of the plot for War of Paradise, dangling some importance that may come later on, only now for us to realize that she wasn't really that important at all. This wasn't an issue with the last chapter, but more how little we got from her post-time skip, which is a real shame because she is one of the best characters in the series. I was also left a little disappointed in the conclusion of Reina's character. I don't think he needed much, but maybe something similar to what Levi or Jean and Connie got. I did really enjoy his talk with his mother there at the end, but Reina has wanted to die for a very long time, and I wish I got to know where he is at mentally at the end of the story. Reina is still definitely one of my favorite characters in the series, but it would have been nice to get a little bit more from him at the end. I think most of the nitpicks that I have with the ending currently stem from me just wishing I could stay with these characters for years to come, but any great story has to come to an end. And I feel the most interesting thing that Isayama accomplished in this chapter is to really flip the script on how I viewed Eren, and I say that in a good way. Eren has always thought of himself as being on the right side of justice, but we always knew that he would often act out of impulse, which could lead him to do the wrong thing. Eren fell victim to his impulse to be free of the Titans and to give his friends a chance. He executed a plan in which he is the villain so he could create a situation where maybe his friends would have a better chance at achieving their own freedom if they survived. Eren is a person now split in two, one being the goofy person who loves Armin and Mikasa, and the other a rage monster who will wipe out all of the Titans no matter what. If anything, this ending is one of sorrow. The characters around Eren do not agree with what he has done, but they understand it, because he was born. Eren deserves to be free. He wanted to see a world that he could shape, a blank world. And in the end, that simple desire pushes him to a horrifying place of mass genocide. Isayama shows us in this last chapter the horrors of what can be created when people grow up oppressed. A tale about how the cycle of violence often pushes us to extremes that wouldn't be possible without it. And that the only way to truly move forward in this world is to show compassion and kindness to others. That ending may seem like a simple one, but I do think sometimes the answer to the most complex questions are simple. And now I am left in a world where there will be no new Attack on Titan chapters, but I'm glad the series was able to go out on a high note, and it didn't overstay its welcome. This bittersweet ending for our characters is why the finale of Attack on Titan broke me.